One of Chloe's favorite things is orange rolls. So I have Chloe with me in the kitchen, helping make orange rolls. So what we started with is I have very hot tap water in here, as hot as it'll come out. You want to add the sugar, kiddo?
Yeah.
So we're going to proof the yeast. What we're doing is we're adding the sugar. You can just dump it all in, kiddo, and stir it up. So we're adding the sugar, and then we're going to add some yeast. And I like to add the sugar first because it's actually going to pull heat out of it. And you don't want to have, keep stirring. You don't want to have your yeast and dump it into hot water because that'll end up killing your yeast. So we're going to stir that together. We're going to give it a little bit of time, and you're going to see over a little bit, it'll start to foam up and it'll get foamy, and that will tell us that our yeast is alive and ready. While that's happening, this is for our frosting. We have some butter in here. We want the butter to soften. To this, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of orange zest. So if you want to start zesting, Chloe,
Yeah.
we'll add the zest of 2 oranges, 3 if they're small, to our sugar here. That's going to be our filling. We'll add 1 teaspoon. Let's measure out that though.
That's a good idea.
So what you can do, and a little bit safer, we're going to turn it over like this, and we'll hold, and we can scrape like this. And then when we get a little bit on here, we'll push it off from the inside into our measuring thing, because this side is sharp.
I see.
And what we're wanting to do is we're wanting to get the orange zest in our sugar early, because that sugar, it's really dry. It's going to pull the oil out, and it's going to infuse the sugar and make almost kind of an orange marmalade that we're putting in there. So we'll let this proof, we'll get this zested, and we'll see you shortly. All right, Chloe almost has this done zesting, and we'll get this stirred up. But you can see right here, we have the foam on the top. It tells us that our yeast is alive and doing well. So I'm going to add in some salt. I'm going to add in some butter. It can be melted or softened, doesn't matter, either one. You can see we're half and half on that one. And then we're going to add 2 eggs to that. And we'll pour in our yeast, and we will get it mixed up. So with the addition of the butter and the eggs, this will be an enriched dough. And with the amount of sugar in here, it's also a sweeter dough. So you want to get that mixed up, Chloe, and stir in our zest. I'll get this mixed up. What I'm going to do when I put it on here is I'm looking just to get it roughly incorporated. And after it's roughly incorporated, I'm going to give it another, probably minute or 2 of mixing just to get it nicely kneaded. If you do this by hand, I would probably go about 5 minutes of hand kneading. And that's just to develop the glutens. Because we're going to want the glutens developed so that we can get a nice structure and help the rolls to rise. Okay, that's been about 2 minutes, and it's looking pretty good. I'll dump it out and show you what it looks like. And if it's done right, you probably don't even need a flour counter. You should be okay without it. So, let's pull out our dough hook. And, oh yeah, that feels good. So you can see how the dough, it feels soft. That's what you want, and it's stuck together. It's not sticking to the counter, which is exactly what I want. So I'm going to add a little bit of oil to this bowl. That's going to help it not stick whenever I dump it out. And this is a small amount, any kind of oil will do. We put it in there, give it a little toss, and we can cover this, and we're going to let it rise until it's doubled. It'll be about an hour, which you can see here. We want it to come up to about right there. And Chloe has our zest mixed up. You can see it's gone from a regular white sugar to this beautiful kind of a yellowy orange. And what's going to happen is it's going to keep pulling out that flavor and pulling out that flavor and be perfect. So we'll see you in about an hour when this is ready to roll out. Okay, well, our dough has risen, as you can see. It's doubled in size. So now we're ready to roll it out. What we are going to do is we are going to roll it out into a rectangle that's 18 inches by 24 inches. And we're going to roll it up. So we have a 24-inch log. We're going to cut that into our rolls and put them in here. So let's get the rolling. What I like to do as I dust my counter, we're going to dump this out, and you'll hear people talk about like knocking the dough back or punching it down. All it means is we're getting all the air out of it. As it's been rising, it has been making gas, and it's getting higher and higher. We're trying to knock all that gas out because it's going to stiffen it up a little bit, and it'll change the texture to a more desirable texture, and it'll be a little bit softer in texture. So I'm going to knead it real quickly, and that's going to knock the air out. And I'm going to shape it roughly into kind of a log. It's a great way to kind of start your shape. We will flour our counter a little bit more and get the rolling. And it's rolled out. Chloe's going to help me with the filling. So, I have about this about rolled out. Now, one thing you want to do is you want to make sure your dough isn't sticking. So I can lift it up and it kind of comes back down. If your dough is stuck to the counter, then when you roll it up, it will just whoosh, shrink back in. So you want it to be loose so when you roll it, it's not doing that shrinking. And we are 17 by 25. So that's plenty close. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some butter on first. I have a 1/4 cup of butter that's melted, and I do it the easy way. You can use a brush. I just use my fingers and hands because it's easier. And Chloe, if you want to spread out that filling evenly on the top, we will be ready to roll it up.
That's not very even.
Yeah, it's okay. You can use your fingers too, kiddo. It's okay.
Okay, yeah.
You can dump it out, kiddo. Here, if we dump it all out, you can spread it out. And the smell from this is amazing. The very strong smell of orange. Quite yummy.
Citrusy.
Let's get a little bit more over here. And now, I think this should be good. We're going to roll this up. Could you put just a little bit of water in here, kiddo? And the reason why is when you get dough wet, it sticks. And that's kind of the whole point. We're going to seal up the edge here so it doesn't come unrolled. And we want to roll it up into a long sheet here. So what I'm going to do is fold it over, and I want to roll it kind of loosely. I want it to be a little bit loose, but not super tight, because if it's really tight, what happens is it just kind of mushrooms out and sort of volcanoes out on you. So I'll roll it up just a little loose. And then we are going to seal our edge. So with the water in here, I get my fingers are wet. Tastes pretty good, kiddo? And then putting it up on here, let's give it a little pinch, and that's going to seal it for us. And then if you wonder how we cut it, I found a little trick. You can use a knife and it smashes it. Scissors smash it. But the best thing you can use is sewing thread, because that cuts right through it. And the kind of sewing thread I like the best, right here, is vinyl upholstery thread. The vinyl upholstery thread is very, very tough stuff. I found it when we were upholstering some wingback chairs. and I used the leftover for cutting these, and it's just worked great. So what I'll do is I'll get a length of it, slide it through about to where you want the middle. You make sure your pieces of string are touching, and you cut it and you get a nice clean cut. Right, Chloe, you want to cut this one?
Yep.
She's washing her hands, I'll cut this one. So since we're going to do 12, I cut it in half. Then you'll cut each one of those halves in half. And now we'll come back. That's a little long, let's cut it off. And you want to pull this, make sure they're touching. Hold tight, some touching. There you go. And tight with them touching. There you go. And if these aren't the same size exactly, don't worry about it. I'll show you how to fix that after the fact. So we'll get this in here. And I use my thumbs down on the counter. Slide it in quickly. And with time you can make them a little bit more even, but as you can see, these aren't all quite the same height. So what I'll do is just kind of pat it down. And that's all. With them about the same height, they'll rise up a lot better. We'll cover this in some plastic wrap and we'll let them rise. This is probably only going to take 45 minutes or so, 30, 45 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna turn the oven on so it's preheated. We want our oven at 350. I'll turn that on, we'll cover this, and we'll pop it in the oven when they've doubled in size. Okay, well, as you can see, these have about doubled in size. We're getting nice air bubbles, it's expanded. We're gonna go ahead and put it in the oven. We're gonna cook this for 30 to 35 minutes. You'll know when it looks nice and kind of golden brown on the top. So let's put this in and we'll show you when it comes out. Okay, I'll set that for 30 minutes and it should be done then. All right, there's our timer. Let's check them. Turn this off. Yep, I think those look good. So let's pull these out. And you can see they puffed up nicely. We didn't get too many that came up. Now, one thing that's gonna happen, like I said, is you're gonna have a caramel on the bottom that sort of forms. That will glue it to there. So I flipped a cooling rack on top of it. We'll flip that over. And you can see kind of the caramely goodness on there. And now, we're going to want to flip it again. So I'll put another cooling rack on like this. And there they are. In the process of doing that, you can also take care of some of the nubs that stick up. We're going to let these cool. And then Chloe and I are going to come back and we are going to make a orange frosting that'll go on top that goes perfectly with this. Okay, so our rolls are cool. And in this bowl, if you remember, we had the butter, we have the zest. I also added a little bit of vanilla. I'm going to add in some powdered sugar now. And if you've never made your own frosting, then you're really missing out. You need to try it. It's so much better than store-bought. To this, I'm going to add about 1/4 of a cup of juice, but we're going to add more as we need it just to help with the viscosity of that. So I'm going to start mixing, kiddo.
Yay.
We're going to mix until all the powdered sugar is combined. And then it kind of becomes a thick paste, and we're going to slowly add a little bit more and a little bit more juice. That's looking pretty good. I'll add a little bit more. You want to mix that in there?
Yes.
Okay, let's turn it off and let's test our consistency. So we're just looking for how it's going to spread. And I would say it's going to spread pretty well. So we'll scrape the sides and then the way I get all the frosting off of there. And I also make a mess. Okay, do you want to spread the frosting on there, kiddo?
Yeah.
That's all we're doing was just kind of covering the top. We're going to cover the sides, and that's going to kind of help it to be moist. It's going to add a little bit more flavor to it. And when Chloe gets this all frosted, we'll try it. What do you think, kiddo?
It looks perfect.
You want to try some?
Yeah.
Okay, let's cut you off a little piece. A little messy. Here you go. What do you think?
That's good.
And that's how we make orange rolls.